Hey guys, welcome to the Ramsey Paul Show. It is January 7th, Wednesday. I hope you're having a good new year and a lot of stuff to cover in the news today. A lot of stuff going on, a lot of crazy stuff. And as always, if you like this program, be sure to like and subscribe, share it with your friends. I do appreciate it. Yeah, we had basically a terrorist attack today against a ICE official in Minnesota. And mainstream media on the left was trying to spin it as, oh, the ICE is out of control. They're just killing people. But what happened? There was this mom. I have no idea what a mom from Colorado was doing in Minnesota. Some shit lib propaganda seeped into her brain. Instead of being home taking care of her kids, she thought she was doing a noble cause to defend illegal people in this country that are breaking our law. It's just horrible. These type of women are destroying America. That's why we shouldn't have the 19th Amendment. There was a reason women didn't have the vote in America for centuries. It's not good. There's a lot of smart women, don't get me wrong, but they can be easily influenced by propaganda and emotions, emotional appeal. And this is what happens. So you have this woman who her natural instincts should be as a mother to her own children, not to some illegal Somalis that are over here scamming us that are about to be deported. But I guess she was in Minnesota protesting this, which is okay. You know, it's America, you can protest. But what you can't do is you can't use violence. And we have a pretty good video of what actually happened. And this isn't graphic, so you can see what happened here. This is the camera angle from the ICE involved shooting in Minneapolis. It shows the woman clearly hitting the agent with a car before he fires at her. So let's just take a look at this. So she was taking her car and using her car as a weapon against him. And we have actually a better angle on this. I want to show it to you here. So this is a clear case of self-defense. You do not have the right to use your car as a weapon. Obviously, a car can kill someone. And this lady, she decided for whatever reason to use her car as a weapon against the ICE official. And here we go, have it here. Let me just blow this up so we can watch this. This is kind of slow motion. So the police officer is saying, hey, you got to get out of here, got to get out of here. He's talking to her, and he looks like he's reaching in trying to take her keys from her. And then she starts to drive, and look at this guy right in front of her, not the guy by the side of the driver's door, but in front of the car. She's trying to run him over. And so he shoots her one time and kills her. So that's a pretty clear case of self-defense now that we have the video. You're not allowed, if the police is trying to get you to stop, another policeman is in front of your car, you can't accelerate and try to kill the police officer. So this upsetted the usual shit libs. Basically, she was a terrorist. She for political reasons, she was trying to kill someone. She deserves what she got. If you're a terrorist and you're engaged in terrorist activity, that's the price that you have for it. And she was armed. The vehicle is a weapon, and she was trying to kill someone about it. Now, Tim Walz, he's the governor of Minneapolis, and he's really discredited. He, if you remember, ran for vice president under Kamala. Really sketchy guy. When he was a high school teacher, he started a homosexual club or something like that. And under his watch in Minnesota, we've had the biggest fraud scam in the history of America. It could billions of dollars. It's just been crazy. The Somali population has just been scamming taxpayers with these fake schools and fake daycares, and they've been using the money to buy Porsches and everything else. Your hard-earned money, right? And I mean, if you make more than 600 on eBay, the IRS is going to come after you. You better report it. But you have all these scammers in Somalis making millions. And Tim Walz had to know about it, but they overlooked it. Why did they overlook it? Because the Somalis are blacks. And in their view, oh, we got to fight white supremacy. And it doesn't look good to crack down on this when it's done by black Africans. So Tim Walz came out today and made this statement here. This has to do with ICE. Let's take a look at this here.
Order to prepare the Minnesota National Guard. We have soldiers in training and prepared to be deployed if necessary. I remind you, a warning order is a heads up for folks. And these National Guard troops are our National Guard troops. They're teachers in your community. They're business owners. They're construction professionals. They are Minnesotans. Minnesota will not allow our community to be used as a prop in a national political fight. We will not take the bait. We will continue to update you, Minnesota, as we get more information. Now I'd like to turn it over to...
All right. So what Tim Walz is doing, he's doing something that I haven't seen since the Civil War. He's basically saying he's going to use he may use the Minnesota National Guard to fight ICE, because ICE is being sent to Minnesota, especially because of all these scammers. Is like, well, how many of the Somalis are illegal? I mean, that's easy. They should go right away. I mean, they should all go. I don't care if they're all our citizens. They should have their citizenship stripped and they should be sent back. But the ones that are illegal, those are easy. So they're sending in ICE to track them down. That's the function of the federal government. We have laws of immigration. ICE supports it. I mean, if you don't like it, you can vote for a different policy, but they're enforcing the laws. But Tim Walz seems to think, no, they can't enforce federal laws of immigration in my state. And he's threatening to call out the National Guard, I guess, to have a civil war. It's basically insurrection, just a day after January 6th, too. He's corrupt. Tim Walz knows he's in trouble. He should be arrested. I think he should be arrested for treason. Definitely he should be arrested for what happened with all the Somalis and how much did he know and cover that up. And he needs to be removed from office. I wish Trump would immediately send someone in there to remove him, arrest him. All right, let's see. Then we have some news of Venezuela. And I talked about this a couple days ago, that I thought the main reason of Venezuela, it wasn't anything to do with drug smuggling. A lot of the countries do that. It didn't even really have to do with changing the government of Venezuela, because we didn't. We captured their leader, Maduro, but the government is still the same. We're not running the Venezuelan government. It's like we don't have any desire to do that. It all had to do with oil. And the oil, as Rubio said, it's not, he said, oh, we got plenty of oil. It's not like we're just trying to steal it. Again, we want to control how the oil is sold on the market, meaning we want dollars for the oil. I talked about, because we're under the petrodollar. That was what was really driving it. Again, there's a fear of BRICS could, if they had alternate currency to buy oil, could threaten the dollar, and that could cause inflation, even potentially hyperinflation in America. Now, it's somewhat our fault. We should have a balanced budget, and we shouldn't have these deficits, but we do. And the only reason we're able to get away with these huge deficits and national debt is that people have to buy these excess dollars to buy oil. So if you want to buy oil, ever since 1974, you had to change your currency, whatever your currency was, into dollars, and use dollars to buy it from OPEC, like Saudi Arabia or Venezuela. But Venezuela, they decided to go off that and sell to China in their currency. And that was the big problem. So that is, I think, that what really drove this. What Venezuelans do, what sort of government they have, if they're socialists or communists, I don't think Trump really cares. I mean, they do what they want. And here we are. We have a little bit of this. Trump announced, I am pleased to announce that the interim authorities in Venezuela will be turning over between 30 and 50 million barrels of high quality sanctioned oil. And what this is, sanctioned oil, Venezuela had sanctions on them because we don't like them, and they were selling to China. And the main reason is they were selling oil in other currencies beside the dollar. So we're taking the oil and we're going to sell the oil, and it doesn't say here, but we're going to sell it in dollars at market price. The money will be controlled by me as president of the United States to ensure it's used to benefit the people of Venezuela and the United States. And so it looks like we're going forward with this. So it's pretty clear this whole operation for Maduro had nothing to do with drugs, had nothing to do with them being a communist or socialist state. It had to do with oil. And again, there's not a shortage of oil. That we have plenty of oil in the United States, and we can buy oil from Saudi Arabia and everywhere else. The problem was Venezuela was selling their oil without dollars. They weren't demanding dollars specifically to China. And so we put an end to that, or Trump put the end to that. And it's this kind of blew over. That could cause some problems with Russia, because we had an issue that a tanker in Venezuela carrying oil that we consider sanctioned, although I think the tanker was empty at this point. It used to belong to, I believe, Venezuela, but what happened is they sold the tanker to Russia just like a week or two ago. And so Russia was trying to take this tanker out, and it was followed by the United States Navy. And I think around Iceland, our special forces took over the tanker because, again, we said this is sanctioned oil. And the Russians obviously aren't happy with this. They call this piracy because that was technically their ship. And the United States intends to prosecute the crew of the tanker, and that would include any Russian nationals on board. Because again, Russia bought the ship, and they're not really happy of this ship being seized on the high seas. They call it piracy, which it probably is. So we'll have to see how Russia responds. But this is out of Venezuela, the whole mess there that this is becoming. Now, I don't really know long term. I don't really see this isn't like an Iraq situation, meaning we took over Iraq, and then we had troops there forever, and we had all these guerrilla warfare, then we had ISIS, then we had our puppet government there, and then it's just a mess, a civil war. Or Afghanistan, when we went into Afghanistan, a lot of our soldiers were killed by IED bombs and guerrillas, and we put in a puppet government in Kabul, and then after like 18 years we left, and it toppled in one day. I don't see this being the situation in Venezuela, because again, we didn't topple the government. I mean, we took the main guy, but the vice president, she is, she's all socialist, communist, whatever, and they're still pretty defiant. So it's not like we changed the government in Venezuela. We arrested this guy supposedly for drugs. I think it's mostly because he wouldn't sell the oil. He wouldn't demand dollars for the oil. And Trump has made threats to the new president that she better play ball. But again, I think this all comes back to oil. It has nothing to do with drugs, has nothing to do with their communist government or however they want to run things in Venezuela. I don't really think Trump cares. We're not going to have troops there. I don't see any evidence of that. Again, it's the oil fields that we're concerned about, not the rest of Venezuela. All right. The other thing that happened here is Trump is kind of going full force here. And according to Polymarket, the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has informed Congress that the United States intends to purchase Greenland. I don't really quite understand this, to be honest, why Trump is so adamant about this. First of all, he says it's because of national security, that Greenland is an important place and it has a lot of access to the Arctic. And the Arctic could in the future, it already is an important place for energy development. There's a lot of resources there, and it's starting to be developed. Russia, especially, they're border the Arctic just like the United States does, and Canada. And Greenland has a lot of passages into the Arctic. Greenland itself is a pretty large island, but it's a small population. It's I think like 60,000 people. So Fayetteville, Arkansas, which is really not a big college town, we have maybe 90,000 people in Fayetteville, Arkansas. It's not that big, but there's fewer people in Greenland, the whole country, than just Fayetteville, Arkansas. So it's a tiny country, geography wise. Again, they have the native Indians or Eskimos there that live there. Most of them are on welfare. They're owned by Denmark, is the country that kind of controls uh, Greenland. They're very left wing. So the people there. So if we did take Greenland and made it a state, they would vote for Democrats. So that be more votes for the Democrats. I think that would be a mistake. But the idea that is some of national security, well, but they're part of NATO. Denmark is part of NATO. So if Russia or China should attack Greenland, then that would be war. It would invoke Article 5 and we could come to the defense of Greenland. But I've seen no evidence whatsoever that Russia wants to take over Greenland or China wants to take over Greenland. It just seems absurd. I mean, Russia is focused right now, obviously, on Ukraine. You can make an argument, maybe long term, Russia could threaten the Baltic states like Estonia, Lithuania. I don't know. I don't even think they'll move on those. But Russia, I don't see them trying to take over Greenland. There's no evidence of it. And China, China is focused on Taiwan. That's their biggest issue right now. Greenland is like halfway around the world from them. And China really doesn't have a huge blue water navy. I don't see the Chinese going there and taking over Greenland anytime soon. So I don't really get where Trump is getting at, because we can defend Greenland anyway, because it's part of NATO. We do. So I think it's more kind of, he has a vision that the United States, we need to grow, kind of like under McKinley, and we need to have more territory, and that just makes us bold and glorious. And I think he just thinks it'd be kind of cool if we had Greenland and even Canada. That's why he brought up Canada, just all of that being part of the United States. He's like, let's think big. Let's just make this all ours. And then the rest of the Western Hemisphere under our thumb, meaning they run their own governments, but they better not get out of line. Venezuela got out of line and they got slapped down. And Cuba's been acting up and always has. And Cuba could be next. So I think that's Trump's vision. It's just more of a strategic sort of American glory, kind of like Rome kept expanding for the glory. And I think Trump sees that for America. And I get it, but the problem is when you keep expanding, it tends to cause problems. Empires have problems. There's a limit to your expansion. It becomes expensive to maintain the borders, and you get a lot of other issues. And our biggest issues in the United States now is not that we lack territory. We have plenty of room. The United States is a big country, especially with Alaska. We have a lot of room. The problem is mostly with immigration and our people establishing our homeland. That's really the big issue right now. We need to focus on domestic concerns rather than focus so much on Greenland. I think Greenland, that's just crazy. Now, again, with Venezuela, I'm a little bit more sympathetic because I understand if other countries drop the dollar, that could cause hyperinflation. It sucks we're in this position. I understand that a little bit more. But in general, we shouldn't be trying to, expand into Canada. Canadians are good people, but I wouldn't want that mess. And I wouldn't want Greenland. So, but Trump, he's still talking about that. So that's where we are there. All right. Let me see. We got one more story here that came out. And this, Trump is hard to figure. He does a lot of stuff that gets me mad, but then he does stuff that makes me like, well, that's pretty based. I like that. And Trump is never boring. He's always doing stuff. So Trump said for a very long time, buying and owning an American home was considered a pinnacle of the American dream. It was a reward for working hard and doing the right thing. But now, because of the record high inflation caused by Joe Biden, I don't know if it's all caused by Joe Biden, and the Democrats in Congress, the American dream is increasingly out of reach for far too many people. Of course, that Mandani, his advisor, that Jewish lady, she did all those posts saying we need to take homes from white people. It's funny because they interviewed her on the street and they said, well, your mother has like a home worth over $1 million. Should we take her home? And she started to cry. Yeah, typical. Anyway, but most people think having a home is a good thing. But what he's saying here is for that reason, I'm immediately taking steps to ban large institutional investors from buying more single family homes. This is a good. This is really good because what happened is a lot of big investments like BlackRock and other places, they would buy up homes, then they would charge them out on rent. And again, that wasn't the purpose of home ownership. Too much home ownership became, it's like a stock market where you buy fix up homes or flip them, or you have these big institutions like BlackRock, Goldman Sachs buy these homes just to kind of flip it and make money on it or make rent. But that's not really should be the purpose of the home. A home shouldn't be something that you use to make money in. I mean, it's great you get equity in your home, but you live in your home, right? Like I have equity in my home here, but it's kind of theoretical because I don't plan to sell. I need a place to live. So, a lot of people have a lot of their home may be worth a lot of money, but if they sold it, they still need somewhere else to live, right? So it's kind of theoretical. But mostly a home shouldn't be about finance. It should be about having a place to live. So I think this is a good thing that Trump had, and I do support that. So anyway, those were kind of the big stories of the day, and we'll see how this progresses in the rest of the week. But guys, thank you so much for watching me. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye bye.